Make sure you don't miss a thing. Go to starzology.com/newsletter and sign up. Welcome to the Starzology Astrology podcast. I'm your host, Alison Price, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Arwynne O'Neill.
Hello, Alison. It's great to be here.
So wonderful to have you again. And this time we have a celebratory episode.
Yes.
We are at our 200th podcast episode of the Starzology Astrology podcast.
Amazing. Is it bicentennial?
Bicentennial.
Our bicentennial episode.
It's our bicentennial episode. And so we always, at every 25 episodes, we have a Q&A, and these questions come from you, our listeners, and we have a whole rash of questions that you've all sent in, and we're going to be addressing most of them today. But let's just take a moment to celebrate 200 episodes of this podcast.
Amazing.
And we did previously do a podcast back in 2012 for what, a couple of years? I can't remember exactly.
It was a couple of years. We did them bi-weekly. So it was...
Did we? Yeah.
Yeah, they were bi-weekly.
And we had, who knows how many episodes back then?
Almost 50.
Almost 50 episodes back then. And then we had a hiatus. Then we started this in 2023.
Yeah.
And I'm going to link to the blog post about how this podcast came to be, and how Arwynne and I got together, and how we have actually, how on earth, I don't know how we've got to 200 episodes.
It's incredible. I love that.
Because for our listeners who might be joining us for the first time, this might just be your very first episode that you happened upon.
And if it is, will you ever have fun going through the archives?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is too that this 200th episode, the time investment is substantial because each episode is just slightly under an hour.
Yeah. So
we have this recording time, we have the editing time, there's then all the preparation and the art and the connections and the uploading. Yeah. And it's in the hours that have gone in, at least 5 hours goes into each episode, if not more. And we've had 200 of them, and therefore someone can work out the number. 5 times 200 is, I don't know, 1,000 hours of attention to our podcast. And why? Because we love it.
Yes.
Right?
And we love you, our listeners.
We do.
Yeah.
And we absolutely love your feedback. And the fact that we now have people from virtually every country in the world has now listened to our podcast.
That's incredible.
And and we also push it through to you. Most people are listening on Apple Podcasts by a long chalk, absolutely. I think we've got 48% listen on Apple Podcasts, and then it's like 20 something listen on Spotify, and then we have a smaller group that listen on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I think it does depend where you are in the world, where people are actually tending to tune in.
For sure.
North America clearly is Apple and Spotify, but not everywhere. Europe is very different.
Yeah.
And their listening patterns.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Spotify girl, so yeah.
Yes, you listen to it on Spotify. I'm an Apple podcast person. I listen to all my podcasts, the other podcasts I listen to on Apple. So but clearly it's huge. Yeah. And I cannot believe, because when we look back to how we began almost 2.5 years ago on our very first episode, where our technology wasn't what it is today, I have to say we have stepped up the technology slightly.
Wasn't our first episode after the hiatus? Wasn't that a video episode?
Yes, because I was recording to iMovie because I didn't know any better.
Yes, and our video feed cut out after a certain number of minutes.
And so I still didn't know any better.
We fortunately had 2 cameras set up. And so the second half is very much lower resolution, which is fine.
Because I still didn't know any better because I was doing the technical side of it. Mm. I had no clue when I started that very first, did that first episode, which I recorded myself because I had the brainwave to actually let me do a podcast. And then I searched and found that I needed a podcast host, so I got onto Buzzsprout because I was referred by Think Media to do that. I opened my Buzzsprout account, I recorded the first podcast, put it up there, and then the next day I thought, I should call Arwynne.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
Yes.
But
I'm so glad you did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we got good energy, and many of our listeners do say that they do like listening to our podcast because they can definitely tell who's speaking.
Yeah, that's important. I am a big podcast listener, and that is incredibly important to me. I don't like a podcast where, although, I mean, yeah, it depends on the topic, but yeah, it's really nice to be able to distinguish the voices.
Yes.
There's a lot of podcasts where it's like one guy, one girl talking, and that's great. But
I know I've listened to some where you've got two women talking. I think, is that Jennifer or is that Marjorie?
I know.
And you don't know who's talking because
and you see them and you're like, oh, they look so different. So they probably don't even know they sound alike. But of course they do now because they got all the fans telling them that, which is annoying, I'm sure.
Yes.
But we don't have that problem.
Our listeners are telling us that they like the fact that they can tell when Alison's speaking and they like when Arwynne's speaking and even when Katya was on, when she was speaking as well. So it's quite clearly, so that's, a bonus.
She's doing really well, by the way. Just wanted to give a little update.
Excellent.
That's she moved out of the building, which is why we don't do the podcast with her anymore.
Right.
But I saw her last weekend and she's doing quite well.
All is good. Yeah, no, that's great. And the thing is too, that with doing this podcast, Arwynne and I live in the same building in downtown Vancouver in Canada.
Total coincidence.
And it's serendipity. It's got to be.
Serendipity. Exactly. That's a better word.
And the fact that we are now, even I couldn't believe, I had to double check. Is it really 200 episodes? So we are recording this now and it will go out. Our listeners will be hearing it. I think it's the very first week in January.
Nice.
But, and we are actually having a celebration in December, which if you were on the mailing list, you would have known about. But anyway, the podcast is going out after that event. But
all right.
There you have it. So yeah. So our vision for this podcast was always about having conversations about astrology for people who are interested, and I call them aspiring astrologers.
Yeah.
So we really are aiming at people who know a little bit about astrology and maybe have a few charts in front of them, but they're perhaps not even ever going to be astrologers themselves. But I like to call them also friends of astrology or astrology adjacent, call it what you will.
Yeah.
But this is who our audience is. We are talking to people who we would have, if you met us at a dinner party, Arwynne and I would be talking at this level about astrology and you guys could join in and follow along with what we're doing.
Yeah.
Additionally, I also wanted to make sure that once you've listened to our podcast episode which goes out every Sunday, that it would inspire you to keep your astrological conversation going with your astrology people, discussing what we had spoken about. Mm. So it's not that we're just giving you a fish. We're trying to teach you how to fish and bringing some critical thought to actually interpreting charts as well, where the idea is that if we can keep the astrological conversation going in your homes and every listener's home, that it's something to think about afterwards. I've never seen this as a podcast. Well, okay, I'll listen to that, moving on. It's something where we think, well, Arwynne and Alison were talking about this and that. Let me explore it here. What do I think about that? Let me read another book about this topic.
Yeah.
And that's always been my vision for our podcast.
I love that. Yeah, I think that really resonates. And I think that's why our podcast is gaining in popularity. Because you don't just want to be droned on to by someone who
talk down to.
Maybe, I mean, some people are attracted to a more academic style where you're hearing about a lot of things that are at a very sort of high level, and
we're not those people.
No, we want it to be accessible.
Yes,
at whatever level you are. We don't want to make it too simple. We want to keep, a balance between beginner, intermediate, and advanced topics. We don't want to specialize in one specific type of astrology. We want to give a broad spectrum because it is such a wonderfully broad field.
Yeah. And keep the conversation going.
Yeah. And I think also we want it to be mostly evergreen content. We do love to do a monthly overarch. We love to do, a little year in advance or year ahead sort of look
ahead.
But most of the episodes, I think, are very much evergreen, where you can just come back and
pick and choose in amongst.
Yeah. And find really deep, interesting topics and hear them described and interpreted in ways that you have not heard before.
And hopefully it's all making sense too.
Yeah.
Because we're not highly academics ourselves, but it's about the joy of reading astrology.
Yeah. And the joy of finding a connection to the words that people are using to describe it. Because as we say, it's a metaphorical language. So if you hear, and this is something that I remember very, very clearly from when I was first learning astrology, you had a more formal training and formal schooling. And that was your introduction to astrology. I gained my knowledge through my mother and grandmother, who it was just, normal dinner table chitter chatter over the course of my childhood.
Yes.
And then came back to it later when I was able to, go to bookstores and buy my own books. And then later when the internet was there and like bookmarking a ton of websites and printing out all these interpretations and really kind of, finding my own topics that I really was fascinated with. But yeah, it's just finding someone who speaks in a voice that resonates with you is so important, whether it's a writer or a podcaster or a couple of podcasters. Yeah. And once you hear a description of something that that really resonates with you, that's what grabs you about astrology and makes you want to come back and learn more, is when you hear something that's like, oh my God, yes, that's me.
Yes. Yes. When you feel that you could just sit at the table and join in the conversation. Yeah. That's who we're talking to.
Yeah. And it's not just numbers and aspects and words that blah, blah, blah. And moon, sextile quadrate, this and that. And, 10% of the nut. No, we want people to feel like, oh, that describes me. Oh my God, it's something to this. And yeah.
I can apply that to the charts in my household, my children, my family, blah, blah, blah.
It's useful. This will make my life better. I can see how I would use this. I can see how this makes my journey in life easier because I can apply something. Yeah. Yeah.
One of my goals has always been to inspire others to basically live your best life. And, and astrology can help. And if it interests you, then you're in the right place. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, Arwynne, so let's just have a look at a couple of the questions that our listeners have sent in.
Yeah.
And hopefully we've got some answers for them.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay, so what do you have?
So question 1 comes from Roxanne.
Okay.
Thank you for asking a question, Roxanne. As a new astrologer, she says, can you suggest a good time to start charging for readings and deciding what to charge?
Wow, that's a good question.
Yeah.
As a new astrologer.
Yeah. First of all, congratulations, Roxanne. That is amazing that you are at that stage in your journey as an astrologer. Yeah, well done, you.
So the question is, at what point does she start charging for readings? And the answer actually is from the first reading you do.
Wow.
So the way I suggest you start, if you're a beginner astrologer and you want to start doing readings, the point is that you don't want to just do a reading for free. And I'm not saying that you have to charge money, but what I'm saying is you need to say to your client, buy me coffee and I'll do your reading, because then there's a value exchange is there. Whereas if you just do a reading for somebody, you are giving them a karmic debt that they then owe you. And this is not a good thing.
That's a wonderful way to put it.
It's like there's no such thing as a free lunch. I mean, we've all heard this, someone's buying lunch. They want something from you. So if you're giving a free reading, you are giving the debt to the client, and you don't want to be doing that either.
Yeah.
So ideally what I recommend is when you're starting out for your very first, I would say your first 10 readings, say to them, buy me coffee and I'll do your readings. And they're going to come and buy you coffee and you'll do their readings. Yeah. And then from that point on, once you get past your 10th coffee reading, if you still feel you want to do readings, you then start moving in on the $10 mark.
Yeah.
And you can absolutely go up from there.
Absolutely. If we're talking friends and family, maybe up the ante to a dinner, or they can make
you still can't do free readings. It's always an issue.
But it's a barter thing.
It is.
I felt the same. Just an interesting comparison. I was sewing for quite a while, mostly for myself, but I would be wearing something I had made, and someone would compliment it, whether a friend or sometimes a stranger who worked in a store. And I ended up making clothes for a bunch of people and doing alterations for people for money. And I always felt incredibly awkward. As a Virgo, not a Leo like yourself, I never knew what to charge. And I would always feel guilty if I was charging more than they could get, like at the, the corner tailor or whatever. Of course, this person, whoever, has a tailor shop and they have an infrastructure, they're not just doing that. Like, obviously, it's comparing apples and oranges, but I always felt so weird about knowing what to charge until I had this sort of epiphany about barter and the whole barter system. And you may disagree about this, and we can chat about that because it's interesting. But in some systems of barter, an hour is an hour is an hour. An hour of your time is worth an hour of someone else's time, regardless of the service. So if you're giving legal advice, if you're cooking someone a meal, if you're cutting their hair, if you're making them a dress, if you're doing an interpretation, an hour is worth an hour. We are all humans. We are all equal. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, time is money.
Yeah, exactly. So for a while, my friend was a hairdresser. She would do my hair, and I would alter clothes or make clothes for her. So whatever amount of time I spent was the amount of time.
Exactly.
It was, equal. So,
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, so if that's another way of coming at it, if
Yeah.
if you feel like there's something, if your friend is a hairdresser or
Yes.
whatever,
Yes.
just make it a time thing.
This is
Until
it.
you're comfortable actually soliciting strangers, then that's a whole nother thing.
Because once the point is, you don't want to be doing free readings because it's not a good value exchange.
Yeah.
And it's not good for you as an astrologer, and they don't put value in anything that they got for free.
Yeah.
So, but once you've done, as I say, if you've done 50 readings for coffee,
Yeah.
that by that time, you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you can then start charging, and you can go from there. And, basically, the more charts you've read, the more you can charge because you have the experience of dealing with clients. Because all your income, once you start taking money in, you're paying tax on that money. And don't think you're not, because you are.
Yeah.
And all of that commitment that goes with being a professional astrologer, as opposed to an amateur astrologer, which is the coffee person, that is the turning point, when to go professional or when to start charging.
Yeah.
And you'll find that most, here's an average, most astrologers perhaps in the US today will charge, say, $100 for a reading. And you don't know who they are or how long they've been doing it. But the astrologers that are charging $400, $500, and $600, they know what they're doing. They've been doing it for absolute years.
Yeah.
They are so busy and they can afford to charge a better rate because they know more. They know all the techniques. They've read all the books. They've put 15 years of study in.
Yeah.
They've invested in their education.
Yeah.
Whereas your $100 astrologer has read the only astrology book you need to know, or whatever it is called, and or read one astrology book, taken one course, and think they can do a reading, and they don't have the inherent skills to understand the subtleties within the chart.
Yeah, and even though it is something intangible, it's giving you information. You can think about it the same way that you would think of getting your hair done, or
by the junior trainer who hasn't cut a hair. You're her first haircut,
right?
Or you want the professional who's doing, the Met Gala,
who's been doing colors forever. And when someone gets out of their chair, it's spectacular, and you know.
But the point is that as the beginner astrologer, as a new astrologer, as Roxanne says, she needs to look at her second house and see how is her value, how does she value herself, her self-worth, and make sure she is not undervaluing, because you're not helping anybody if you do that.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So that would be my suggestion about how to start charging for readings, which is from day one. And you just go up from there. And the better you get, the more you charge. It's that simple. And the clients keep coming. So, there it is. Yeah. Do you think that answered the question?
That's an amazing answer. Yeah.
Okay, good.
And as we know, like I've said many, many times, I am not a consulting astrologer.
Right.
So just the perspective of if you feel like you're pushed to be a professional astrologer, that's awesome. There are also, if you're an introvert and you can't imagine charging for your services and you just want to be a researcher, that's fine too. That's what I do.
Yeah, not everyone's going to be an astrologer.
I've never charged someone for an astrology reading, and I would feel super awkward doing so. But that's not my.
That is exactly the point.
My calling.
Yes.
Exactly, my calling is doing research and being a podcaster.
It's a value exchange, and as I say, once you've done your first 50 readings of people you don't know.
Yeah.
Then you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And after that, you decide you're moving forward, or you're just going to keep it as hobby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would suggest that. Yeah. Okay.
Love it.
Great.
Here's one from Catherine, who says, what is your view? And I guess she means our view, but on reincarnation, and how is it reflected through either the nodes or the 12th house? We don't talk about that much.
We don't.
But
no.
that would be evolutionary astrology.
Yes.
And it's not that we do or don't believe in reincarnation. I don't know your personal opinion on that. My personal opinion is maybe. I don't know. I'm very agnostic.
Because we're not evolutionary astrologers.
No, exactly. But I love some of the principles in evolutionary astrology. I love the nodes.
Yes.
Whether you're interpreting
let's spell it out.
Let's spell it out. Evolutionary astrology. The 12th house is typically it's the house of self-undoing.
Yes.
It is also the house of sort of the end of the evolutionary line. It's like the birth, is like at the ascendant.
Yes.
And then it goes around in a sort of like life cycle. And then the 12th house is kind of the house of wrapping things up.
Yeah.
And you can frequently see things in that house where maybe you're bringing in things from, if you have a packed 12th house, that typically your life is not going to just be like simple, cut and dry, normal, whatever. There's usually like a lot of karmic stuff. And we can say
Right.
karmic, we say karmic all the time, whether that
Yes.
means, that there are specifically literally previous lives, or whether that's just something that you're bringing in from, I'm going to throw out a weird phrase here that we don't say also, the Akashic record.
Yes.
The collective unconscious.
Yes.
All these things, possibly. I mean, as a militant agnostic.
Right. Well, good to know, Arwynne. Good to know.
That's how, religiously and astrologically. I don't know. The reason I love astrology and the reason I use it is because it feels real to me. It feels useful. It feels true.
Right.
It resonates with me. If it didn't, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
It's not a matter of belief. It's when people say, "Oh, you believe in astrology," it always bugs me. I know what they mean by that, but I don't know how to answer that, because it's not about belief. It's not a leap of faith in the sense that believing in some religious tradition is a leap of faith. It works. As a Virgo, it works for me. And so, yes, a lot of elements of evolutionary astrology do work. They work incredibly well. And I had a wonderful reading, actually, with an evolutionary astrologer. And she described a bunch of past life stuff, which I can take symbolically or literally if I want to.
Right.
She described my 8th house Saturn as being, someone who had been in a nunnery in a past life, and all of this wonderful imagery. And whether that literally happened or whether that's simply a character trait that is symbolically resonant. And yes, I've said in the past, I relinquished any vows of poverty or celibacy I may have taken in the past. I've read that somewhere, and I don't know who said it. I would like to give credit where credit's due, but I think that's a wonderful thing to say. Yes, if I took any previous vows of celibacy or poverty, I relinquished them. I do not want that for this lifetime or whatever. But I don't think you need to believe in specifically literal reincarnation in order for those evolutionary astrology paradigms, for lack of a better word, to be resonant and important and valuable. Specifically, the meaning of the 12th house and the notes. I think the notes are incredibly valuable regardless of how you interpret them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, on a broad stroke, the nodes are, the south node is what you're bringing from your previous incarnations.
Yeah.
And the north node is what you're taking out with you.
And where you're moving towards.
Yes, in this lifetime.
Yeah.
So if for example, if we look at your chart, you've got the south node in the 9th house. So do I. Remember, we decided we both got, this is the one thing we both have. Yeah. And here's the point with evolutionary astrology, where you're talking about in a past life, you were an Egyptian princess and blah, 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 or whatever she said to you. And you had this is how your life used to be, and this, that, or you were a murderer, or whatever it is. And the reason I don't work with evolutionary astrology is my question is, how's that helping me today?
Yeah.
It's not something that I respect the evolutionary astrologers, but I don't practice it myself because it doesn't help my clients who are dealing with issues with their relationships, issues with being able to pay the rent, the basic things of getting through on a practical Virgo level, which is where we are coming from. Yeah. How can I help my client get through their day? And telling them they were an Egyptian princess 500 years ago isn't helping anything, Yeah. And I'm sorry if that's offending anybody, but that's how I view it. That's why I don't really bother with evolutionary astrology. Yeah. The fact that we've got the south node in the 9th house.
Yeah. Do you use the notes in your interpretations when you do a chart reading?
Well, I wouldn't do evolutionary. I would only say that this is your past in this lifetime.
Yes. Yeah.
So that in your past, you may have met Tom, Dick, and Harry, and they're still in your past.
Yeah.
But I only refer to this lifetime that we're talking about now, not when you were reincarnated in the past, because I'm not a big fan of reincarnation. I'm going to say it because we're going to go right back to the beginning and say, well, how many souls are there in the world? Clearly, there's 8 billion because that's how many we have now. Yeah. But 8,000 years ago, when when Noah was on the ark, how many souls were waiting in line to get? You know what I'm saying?
I do.
It's
but that's only on this planet.
And does it help today addressing your issues with your wife or your children or your mother? Yeah. So it's not something I lean into. And that's really the main reason why I don't do evolutionary astrology in general. But I respect to them. Yeah.
Yeah. Great answer.
What was the question? Did we answer that question?
Oh yeah, basically just what's our view on
Oh yeah,
reincarnation?
that is our view.
And it's, how it's used in North Node and South Node, etc.
It's so what are we saying? In our South Nodes in the 9th house, we were well-traveled and educated people.
Well, I mean, yeah, and the North Node is communication, which is both of our.
That's what we're striving to in this lifetime as we speak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so they have to be interpreted together. Really, you can't just interpret the South Node only.
Yeah.
And it's really it's because they're always going to be exactly opposite each other. And the more important thing is the North Node. If you get stuck on the South Node, you're not doing it right. Whether you're
living in the past,
whether you're thinking of it reincarnationally or just your own past. If you're thinking too much about the South Node, like you need to switch your thinking to the North Node, because that's the one we're moving towards.
Yes. I do think that people who maybe have experienced trauma in their past, who keep reliving things that were bad things that happened to them, they are tending to that South Node.
Yeah.
And even a psychologist will say you have to work through it because you have to move forward.
That's a great point.
We have to move forward.
Yeah. So whatever the story is that helps you to move past that trauma. Yeah. That whatever resonates with you. And I don't think either of us are saying that that's not true.
No.
Because we just don't know. Yeah. But that's the thing with like being an agnostic. I just don't know. I would love if that were true. I would love if a lot of things were true. I don't know. Yeah. But I know what is useful and helpful in this life. Yes. And that is, how we can work with these things to make our interpretations of ourselves and our personalities and our relationships better and more productive and more integrated into our personalities.
So whilst I acknowledge that the South Node is showing all your previous past lives, I'd never bring it into my readings because I don't find it helpful or practical here in 2025. So
Nice.
Good answers. Yeah. Good.
Okay. Our next question is from Dylan. And Dylan says, I'm a new astrologer, and my question is about synthesizing the interpretation. For instance, if Venus trines my moon and Mars squares my moon, how should I interpret these two seemingly opposite energies? And then they say, by the way, I love your podcast. I always listen. Thank you, Dylan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, Dylan. Thanks for the question. That is a good question.
It's a great question.
And it's an interesting one because what he's saying is that we're talking about his moon in his natal chart, and he's saying Venus, which is a good thing, trining his moon is a good thing. Yeah. And then we've got Mars, which is a challenging thing, is squaring his moon. And therefore, they're opposing aspects to his moon. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Now, just off the top of the head, the Mars is going to dominate because it's a square aspect and it will create the challenge that has to be dealt with. Right. And the Venus is a trine, so it's going to be a backseat aspect. But you have to assess how well placed is his moon to even start with.
Right. Do you have moon in Cancer? Is it in its own sign? Or do you have moon in Virgo, for example?
Yeah. Or is Cancer rising? Is the moon, the chart ruler, is the moon the most elevated or something like that? And then you also have to then look at Mars and Venus. Is any of those two retrograde because it will weaken them? You have to assess what is their strength in the chart. Yeah. And if they're equally strong, because maybe Venus is in Libra and maybe Mars is in Scorpio, so they're in their own signs. Yeah. Well, they wouldn't try and square. But the point being, in general, hard aspects will dominate a soft aspect. Yeah. So this Mars square moon
bottom line,
is going to be more likely to be the challenging aspect to his moon, which is his experience of his mother, his emotional state, the feelings, the habits learned at his mother's knee, behavior is likely to be more dominant there, unless Venus is highly, highly well placed in the chart. Perhaps you've got Taurus or Libra rising, therefore Venus is chart ruler, and Venus may then give Mars a run for its money. But it is a trine, so it's going to be lovely, but not necessarily effective, whereas Mars squaring the moon will be an effective aspect because squares are ones that you always have to deal with all your life long. So,
I mean, and you'll also want to look just at how strong they are.
Yeah.
If the trine is like within like a degree and it's one of the strongest, aspects in your chart, and the square is like over 5 degrees or separating, maybe that's a little bit weaker of a square.
Exactly.
But
But it's a good question because it's a good question because you've got two, basically you've got this ever so nice Venus feminine energy coming in, and then you've got this challenging masculine, look at me energy, and he's standing there, and to the moon, which is, or any planet really, the question will still arise. But in general, the squaring planet will dominate. So that would be my answer to Dylan. Which is a great question, actually.
Great question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good one. Thank you.
Yeah. How do you interpret unaspected planets, and how do they manifest in behavior or life experience?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just be quite clear. What is an unaspected planet?
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, that's according to Alison,
Yeah.
an unaspected planet is a planet that does not receive a Ptolemaic aspect from another planet.
Yes.
So it might be aspecting one of the angles, the ascendant or the midheaven or the node,
Yeah.
but that does not count.
Oh, interesting.
It's only unaspected if it's not in a competing aspect with an energy from another planet.
Yeah. Okay.
So there are many charts who have this. I haven't got one to hand. I don't know if you have. But so what you've got is you've got this planet standing alone. So it's not being aspected, or as I like to say, it's not being leaned on by another planet. It's not being pressured by somebody else. It's so I don't know, say it's the sun, an unaspected sun. So the sun is standing independently by itself, which it loves to do in your chart.
Yes.
So it's not integrated via aspect, but that's just one way of looking at it. The other way is that also it's not, because it doesn't have influence from the other planets, say it doesn't have a square from the moon, making it a little bit more wishy-washy or whatever, it can stand in its true essence in whatever sign it's in.
Yeah.
And it can work for you in such a positive way independently.
Yeah.
And it's the same for all the planets. Say you've got an unaspected Mercury. This is clarity of thought.
Yeah.
This is a planet that is not being shoved in a square pegged in a round hole, or as it basically is what we're saying.
Mm.
So it can work independently. And if it's one of the nice planets, which are, the sun and the moon and Venus and all those lovely planets, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
But if it's like one of the hooligan planets, which is like
Mars,
Uranus,
Saturn,
Pluto, the malefics, they will also be at full force, being able to express themselves. And they could be what I like to call the joker in your pack.
Wow, interesting.
So because they're not integrated, they would still be in your dispositor tree, but they're not integrated by aspect to the actual what's going on in the chart.
Yeah.
They can be totally independent planets within your chart. And really you want to lean into that because it doesn't happen often, but it does happen.
Yeah, that's actually amazing. I have not, to be honest, heard that interpretation, and I love it.
Oh.
That's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't technically have any unaspected planets. My moon comes close, because my moon aspects are all quite wide.
I say your moon is unaspected. I'm just looking at your chart here, and Arwynne's, Arwynne's.
You use closer orbs than ASTRO.com, for example.
Oh, well,
so my moon is incredibly widely conjunct. I think it's like a 9 or 10 degree conjunction.
That's not. Come, Arwynne.
So my moon is unaspected.
So technically, your moon is unaspected. So what are we saying? That emotionally, your relationship with your mother and your behavioral patterns are in the, what sign is your moon in?
Free of encumbrance. Oh, well, it's in Virgo.
In Virgo. So there it is. And it's absolutely,
it's just,
it exists in its full glory.
Pure form.
And we see this in you. We see
I do have a wonderful relationship with my mother. Yeah.
And
my empathy is boundless. I love all different types of people, and I have, I'm a very empathetic and, what's the word? I'm a humanitarian. Right. I can see the good in a lot of people.
Yes. But because of this, talking about your mother, because the moon represents your mother, nobody is pressurizing you to say, yes, but your mother's just, she's just an old grump. Or your mother, I'm not saying that.
No, but
or your mother's this and that, or what, or she blah, blah, blah. That never comes up because you see it in its glory. There's no planet leaning on it, saying, but whatever it is. And I've got the moon square sun, so I've got this, but but you don't. So you have this clarity, and the moon can exist without pressure from the other planets to conform to their agenda.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my thought on that.
What a wonderful interpretation of unaspected planets. I love that.
Okay, then.
Yeah. Okay. Our next question is from Ahmed. And Ahmed says, I've heard of besieged planets. Can you explain what that means and how to find besieged planets in a chart?
Yes. Now, there's a question here.
Yeah. Besieged.
Besieged. So this is technically one of these very ancient traditional expressions of planets. So There are honestly these days there are 3 levels of besiegement. Besiegement, that's a word. So in essence, a planet is considered besieged if it lies between Mars and Saturn within the chart, and there's no other planets within Mars and Saturn.
Wow.
So that's just a loose explanation. That planet could then be the midpoint between Mars and Saturn. So say Mars was at 5 degrees something, and the middle planet, say the Sun was at 15 degrees something, and then Saturn was at 25 degrees something. So it's the total midpoint of the two.
And so this is moving counterclockwise, yeah?
Yeah. So then the planet would be the midpoint between the Mars and Saturn. That then is also an aspect of besiegement.
Oh.
And then the third consideration is, because then they will all be in the same sign, but then the third consideration is, which is more the traditional one, is that there is an aspect between the besieged planet and Mars, and the same aspect to Saturn. So Mars could be in one sign sextile your besieged planet, which is then also sextile Saturn, and then Mars and Saturn are trine. So there are 3 different ways of looking at this, but technically, and in the broad sense, and in this day and age, any planet between Mars and Saturn by itself is besieged, because it's between a rock and a hard place.
Wow. Okay.
So everyone can now scramble and look at their charts and decide, do they have any planets between Mars and Saturn? We look at Arwynne's chart. And she ain't got nothing.
I don't.
You've got this massive yawn. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, they're like right next to each other with nothing in between.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing between them. So there's no besieged planet in your chart.
Yeah.
And then again, if we look at my chart, no, I have 5 planets between Mars and Saturn. So I don't actually technically have a besieged planet.
So, but you said if there's a relationship between Mars and Saturn as well, right?
Well, there would be if that was a sextile, and they would be trine. If Mars and Saturn were trine each other, and there was a planet that was sextile to both, that is technically then the height of besiegement.
What if they're opposite each other?
Well, the same thing. Then it would be square.
Yeah.
So if you have a T-square and you've got Mars opposition Saturn, and there's no other planets, and say the Sun is there squaring the T-square, being the apex planet, the Sun is then definitely besieged.
Interesting. I think my partner, I'm looking at charts, I think my partner he definitely has Mars opposite Saturn.
Yes.
And it's in a T-square with Neptune and Jupiter.
So tell us about your partner's chart.
Yeah. So I believe he has, I know he has Mars opposite Saturn.
Right.
And Jupiter opposite Neptune, and they're forming a T-square between those four planets.
Yes. So what you have is you've got Mars opposition Saturn, and then Jupiter is squared both Mars and Saturn.
Correct.
But it is not the only planet between Mars and Saturn, because the moon is there.
Yeah, absolutely. The moon and also Chiron.
Yes. So that then is not a besieged planet. It has to be standing alone, besieged, holding back.
I see. Got it. Okay.
It's like you're in one of those rooms in those horror movies, and the walls are moving in on you.
Yeah, the compactor, the trash compactor in Star Wars. Yeah.
And it's like, as I say, it's like between a rock and a hard place, because that's Saturn and Mars, the 2 malefics, the 2 traditionally malefics. So in general, because there are 3 different states, the one being, in general, they're just in the same sign. Yeah. And in general, they just are in between, but no aspect. But technically, they need to have an aspect. But we're not going to split hairs for once. If I see a chart with a besieged planet, that would be any planet just between Mars and Saturn by itself in that gap. I would consider that besieged, but that's just me. And that planet is under pressure from these 2 other planets. It's contained, and it has the two difficult planets. The planet that rules the squares, the planet that rules the oppositions are, I don't want to say got it in a corner, but that planet is technically then a besieged planet.
Got it.
Yeah, but the purists will say it has to have an aspect.
Yeah.
Well, yes, they go,
And let's talk about why that is important in ancient astrology. You said it's one of the most ancient astrological things.
Hellenistic,
Right. And that's because Saturn was the outermost planet that we could see with the naked eye. And those were considered the 2 malefics, Mars and Saturn.
Well, they still are. Yeah.
Yeah. I think people probably consider Pluto to be a malefic, and arguably.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
But Uranus was discovered in 1781, I believe, and Neptune in 1848. And yeah.
So it's a subtle thing in a chart.
Yeah.
And you don't see it often, but once you know to look for it, you can look in charts and say, oh yeah, so-and-so's besieged, because you're paying attention now.
Yeah.
It's like, you're driving along, and to start with, all you can do is hang on to the wheel.
Yeah.
But finally you can notice, oh yes, that house is for sale over there, and you're being able to pay attention. And this is the subtleties of being able
that
to
house
read.
is besieged over there.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
And it's on the corner, and the drain's blocked, and blah, blah, blah.
Very interesting.
So it's just a position. It's you do see it, and it crops up, obviously. And of course, it comes up in the transiting chart, the daily chart that we look at as well.
Yeah.
And you see that too. It's not often in aspect, unless it's, as you said, T-square or one of those mini grand trines, because they're the only two aspects it can make, the sextile or the square.
Mm-hmm.
But you do see it if you dismiss the aspects, which I tend to do, because I just want to say, oh, look at that poor little moon, that's besieged.
Yeah.
And you just give it it's a negative thing. It's a weakening of the planet. The planet is not able to express itself fully.
That's interesting.
It's in defense. Yeah.
I'm looking at more charts, and
Of course.
My grandmother actually
Oh yes.
has
So
a
what does she have?
besieged moon.
Really? So she's got the moon, and then she's got Saturn, Moon, Mars, all in a row.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there she has a besieged moon.
Yeah.
And are they all in the same sign?
No, they're
Okay, so there you go. Yeah. So that is the definition of besiegement.
Yeah.
Besieged. You are besieged. It's like you're storming a castle, and you are being besieged by these two this Mars and the Saturn are having a go at you.
Yeah. So that moon energy is going to be difficult to express.
Yes. And it's a subtle thing. It's a subtle thing. But if you're weighing planets, and you know about besiegement, certainly lay it on there. Why not? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Exactly.
Why wouldn't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Cool. And our final question for the night is from Chris. Chris asks, how do you interpret retrograde planets in the natal chart?
Wow, that's a straightforward question.
Yeah. I mean, everyone knows about Mercury retrograde. That's just a thing everyone, even if they're not into astrology, knows about.
Yeah.
But, and I know that you actually have Mercury retrograde in your
I do.
So you can speak to that.
Absolutely.
But what about all the others? How does that deepen the interpretation about any given planet?
So what is a retrograde planet to start with?
Wow. Yeah.
So technically, it's a planet that it's seemingly moving backwards, and it's only because the Earth is going faster.
Yes.
So any planet that's retrograde is at its closest point to the Earth.
Yeah.
So that means that for Mercury and Venus, it can occur at any time. But from Mars outwards, the superior planets, they are only retrograde when they are opposing the sun or within the sextile to that position.
Yeah.
So only if the sun is at the top, only in that bottom trine will the outer planets be retrograde.
Yeah.
So they're always challenged there. So that's one thing.
Yeah. And if that's confusing to you, you can probably find an animated little thing of all the planetary movements and actually see a visual of why that looks the way it does from our perspective on Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This might actually warrant a full-blown episode, this question, because it's quite a big question.
That's a really good point, because no planets actually move backwards. We know that. We know that.
But they seem to.
Yeah, from our perspective on Earth, Mercury looks like it's moving backwards from our perspective on Earth 3 times a year.
Yes.
And the other planets have different
So it's like if you're on a train and you're moving along and the train next to you is moving forward but slower, it looks like it's going backwards, but actually you're going forward, and that we're on Earth going forward.
Just going faster
and
slower. Yeah, exactly.
So all of the planets will go retrograde except the sun and the moon, and that's always an astrology joke about, do you have a retrograde sun? And the students are madly looking at their charts. That is a joke. Don't fall for that one.
Yeah.
And so Mercury, as you said, is retrograde 3 times a year. Venus is 5 times in 8 years, and Mars is every second year. Yeah. But the others are every single year.
Yeah.
So frequently you will find that there will be retrograde planets in a chart.
Yeah.
But in general, in the course of a year, you'll find 1 month where no planet is retrograde. And if you're born that time, then you're great. So it's a common thing.
Yeah. Very common.
Now, when we are looking at retrograde planets, it does depend what the planet is.
Yeah.
But technically, it is not working at full capacity.
Yeah.
It's like we've walked down the pavement forward, and then you have to walk backwards down the pavement. You can do it, and you're retracing your steps.
Yeah.
But you can't look over your shoulder, so it slows you down.
It's almost like if a planet is in a sign that it's in its detriment or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just
it can't function well.
It's just a little flavor.
Yes.
It's not. It's not like having an opposition or a square.
Correct.
It's not that strong, but it's just a little bit of a
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, really technically, if you do have retrograde planets, you want to find out, when did they go retrograde? Did they go retrograde the hour before you were born? Or are they going to go direct the hour after you were born? Because the trick with this then is, by progression,
Right.
have they gone direct?
Right.
And if you're over 28, then Mercury will have gone direct. And if you're over 48, Venus will have gone direct. And the others may or may never go direct.
Yeah.
So that is something you want to pay attention to, because the year when the progress planet changes direction is critical.
Yeah.
And by the same token, if you've got a planet that's direct in your natal chart, it could have gone retrograde by progression.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a subtlety here.
Yeah.
But in general, a retrograde planet is less effective than it could be.
Yeah.
So if you've got a retrograde chart ruler, say you've got Aries rising and Mars is retrograde, it's a weaker Mars.
Yeah.
And you may then find that another planet within the chart will supersede that chart ruler as the dominant planet, because in general, the chart ruler is the dominant planet in a chart, but not always, as particularly if it's retrograde.
Yeah. And also, so if you're one of these people who has kind of two chart rulers, like if you have Scorpio rising and you have therefore Mars and Pluto, both that's your chart rulers, which if one of them is retrograde, you'll lean into the other one.
Exactly.
For example.
Exactly. Yeah. So is this what you have? Do you have?
No, both of mine are not retrograde.
Oh.
I have one retrograde planet in my entire chart. Well, two counting Chiron, Jupiter and Chiron. Why would we not count Chiron?
I don't know.
Of course. Yeah, Jupiter and Chiron, which are not really great. I mean, they're not terrible planets to have retrograde. That's what I'm saying. They're not. It's not hard to be.
Most charts have, 11 out of 12 charts will have a retrograde planet. So it's very common.
Yeah.
And it slows you down. Additionally, if you do have a natal retrograde planet, when that planet actually retrogrades by transit, you don't get affected as badly. I think we've spoken about this in the past
we totally
too.
Have, yeah.
So in my case, with the retrograde Mercury, when Mercury has these retrograde periods, it doesn't really affect me. I relish them because I'm going in with my editing and I'm dotting my I's and crossing my T's and being nitpicky about things.
Yeah.
And so, and I also have a retrograde Saturn actually. So again, that just weakens Saturn, which was pretty weak to start with.
Yeah.
So it's not able to be prominent in your chart. And if it is one of the main planets, like your chart ruler particularly retrograde, that does create a weakness. But in general, I would say that it's just working on a lower vibration. Its effect will probably still be the same, but with less oomph. Yeah. There's a word.
Less oomph.
Yeah.
We don't use that word often, but it's definitely a good word. It's like moxie.
Yeah.
It's a great word. I love moxie. The opposite of oomph.
Yeah.
No, actually they're not opposites. They mean kind of similar things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you've got Mercury retrograde, which is, but the outer planets will be retrograde for 5 months. So many people will have that retrograde. So it just depends which planet it is and how important it is in your chart as opposed to my chart or the next guy. Yeah.
Love it. Great answer.
Okay.
Yeah. And our final question today comes from Angela. And this is a kind of a lighthearted question as far as I'm concerned. What are the most misunderstood signs and why do they get such a bad rap?
Wow.
I mean, because we're human.
It depends who you are.
We are human.
So which are the most misunderstood signs? I would say Scorpio straight up.
For sure. Scorpio for sure. Yeah, there's those old jokey kind of horoscope things. I think I have a magnet on my fridge that someone gave me about the Virgo being nitpicky and, carping and perfectionistic and blah, blah. And then the one about the Scorpios, they're usually murderers and that kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I would say Scorpio number one.
Right.
Pisces.
Yes.
Capricorn. And then everybody else is wherever.
Yes. And why are they misunderstood? Because Scorpios they come across as dangerous.
Yeah.
And they do, especially if you've got it in an ascendant.
Thank you.
Yes, they do. They come across as dangerous.
I too like to live dangerously.
Not to be messed with.
Yeah.
Sexy, definitely. And I think twice about.
What was that line from my favorite? Yeah, the sexy evil Hamlet thing from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The director is directing what's his name, Matt Damon in a scene, and he's like, okay, give me sexy evil Hamlet.
There you go.
We all know what that means. We all
Yes.
know.
Yes.
Right? I love it.
So this is Scorpio.
Yeah.
Scorpio people are, well, especially rising signs, because that's what you see first.
Yeah.
They are not to be trifled with. They are not to be picked on. They're not to be messed with. You don't bully them. They bully you. And if you're clever, you stay out of their way.
Yeah.
Because they're dangerous.
Yeah. Me and Prince was always like, why does everyone, only focus on the sex? I'm like, well, I mean, A, look at you, but also,
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, I say to you,
it can start out so young. I mean, and we've talked about, people misinterpreting my intentions from a very early age. But just as a great example, Prince was a very spiritual and religious person who just happened to sort of pigeonhole himself into a very sexualized persona
Dark. Yes.
very early in life, and then ended up kind of in later life really resenting people for pigeonholing him that way when he wanted to focus on spiritually elevating people. And
do you feel pigeonholed yourself?
not anymore.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't think I ever really felt, because also Scorpio is a very strong placement.
Yes.
Even, I mean, there's no detriment when it comes to ascendant, and that's the only thing I have Scorpio in.
Yes.
It's kind of like, I feel pigeonholed, but at the same time, F you if you don't understand me,
I do.
So I really never felt like, abused by that misunderstanding. I was like, well, they don't understand me. So, like that's just it's like a filter.
Yes. Yes.
And of course I also have, the sun and moon and Mercury in Virgo, which need to be protected in some way. So I think that Scorpio rising was like a shell. I've talked about this before.
Absolutely.
But it's that's the hard Scorpio shell that just kind of keeps people away if they're not willing to look past the big hair and the lipstick and the scowl that might be my resting bitch face or whatever.
I know. But you see, Scorpio is the sign that rules. It rules the mafia. It rules the Grim Reaper.
Detectives who want to know everything about you.
James Bond.
Yes.
The guys who work in the funeral homes, or the undertakers.
Batman.
Yeah. Batman and gynecologists giving birth. They are at the birth and death of life.
Yeah.
And sex, death and birth, and taxes.
Yes. All those things that, we may be very uncomfortable talking about or maybe fearful of in our personal lives. Like,
and we make many jokes about them because of that.
I don't know anyone who doesn't fear death, but a lot of people also fear taxes and sex.
Yes.
And they can be scary.
This is it. So this is why Scorpio has this reputation.
And the Scorpio is like, but they exist. So why do you ignore it?
Because I don't really want to contemplate it. But I get it. I have a child who has Scorpio rising. Yeah. And one day they called me in because there was an issue with bullying. And I'm standing and saying, who's bullying my child?
Yeah.
And they're saying, no. You've got the wrong end of the stick. And I said, oh my God. Yes. And I thought, I can see it. But the other kids were scared of her. And
was she actually bullying them, or was it just like a Wednesday Addams thing where she just scowled at them the wrong way and then
apparently she walked down the corridors and the corridor, it just parted and she just came through and nobody said a word. And I thought, oh my God.
Good for her.
I know.
I'm grinning from ear to ear thinking about this.
But this is the thing. I have a sister who has Scorpio rising, and you don't mess with her. That's all there is to it. Yeah. So people are wary of Scorpio. That is really the bad rat there, I think, with that sign. Yeah. Yeah.
People don't like to feel intimidated.
Yeah.
But,
And what was the other sign?
Sum it up, Buttercup. That's what I say. The other one, this is just my interpretation.
Right.
I feel like Pisces gets a bad rap.
Oh, yes.
And it's for the opposite reason.
It is the exact opposite reason.
Yeah. People think they're wishy-washy. Or they're woo-woo, or they're just like not there, or they're just
ghosting
in
you.
The clouds, or ghosting you, or like, they feel traumatized by like an invitation. So they like.
Somebody looked at me sideways and they start crying and.
Yeah.
And I say, I'll see you at 7. And, they never pick up. And
you're like, oh, well, this message has been unread for 3 weeks. Like, is he dead? What's happening here?
Yeah. So again,
no, I only use this app for contacting people now. You should. And I'm like, what? Everyone else uses this app. Like, why?
Yeah. And I sent you an emoji. What more do you want? Okay.
Yeah.
But that's also, it's very elusive and they drift in and out of your life.
Yeah. And to be fair to the Pisceans, they have been through a lot. They feel everything very deeply.
Yes.
And
they've got the pain of humanity because they're the last sign.
They're the last sign, evolutionarily and in all other ways. Yeah, they're at the end of the zodiac. So they have a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And that's not easy.
No. And for the rest of us rushing through and blundering about.
I got my life, blah, 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 my ego, etc. And they're just like, no, but I see all the pain.
Yeah.
And no one wants to see all the pain. Like, yeah. So why do we vilify someone who sees all the pain? Well, because we don't want that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not fair, but it's human nature.
It's an interesting sign because of that, because the other signs look on and think, we'll get Pisces to do it. Yeah. And they'll do it because I don't want to do it. Yeah. So that is another reason, I think, and it's a bad rap. Yes, I suppose it is, but if you're a Pisces, which there are millions of, you're living it.
We love our Pisceans.
Yeah. Well, my whole family's full of Pisces. What can I do?
Some of my best friends. Yeah. Not a couple. Yeah. And I mean, I would say the last one, Capricorn, gets a bad rap.
Oh, yes. Why is that, Arwynne? Why?
Well, I mean, because they're like the guy on the Monopoly box, right? They're like the banker, the boss, the stern
the rule
dad
maker, the time
on a sweater.
You're late.
Yeah,
you're not following the rules.
No one wants to be scolded. No one wants to be reminded that they could be doing better. They could be excelling more. They could be doing it right, and you're not. Yeah.
Yes, it's a tricky sign. I mean, from Leo, it's at the quincunx. So for me, it's a challenge. Pisces and Capricorn are my difficult signs to deal with. And you've, got it slightly differently.
Yeah, I mean, as a Virgo, technically it's trying to me, but do I have any Capricorn friends? Can't think of any. And
I'll tell you one thing, I never get Capricorn clients. So. No, they just don't vibe with my energy, which is fine, Yeah. Maybe we're just, maybe there are other signs. Maybe some people think, Leo is the worst sign. Well, I don't care.
If you're a Capricorn listener, text us, hit us up, let us know why you're awesome.
We won't have Capricorn listeners. You see what I'm saying? The others will say, oh, well, Leo's so difficult and they're just so obnoxious and blah, egotistical. Yes, I'll put my hand up to it.
Yeah. Virgos are nitpicky. Oh, sorry.
Nitpicky beyond. I mean, my brother's 5-planet Virgo. You've no idea what nitpicky. It's just
so there are negative things about every sign.
I think that's the thing. But it depends what sign you are, how you perceive the difficult signs.
Yeah. I read a book once where they literally got to the chapter on Taurus, and they were like, how in every astrology book you can tell who the writer hates? And I'm like, oh no, I don't know that, but tell me more. They clearly hated Taurians, which is weird because I don't think that's common, but they did.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you see, it depends where you're standing and what aspect that sign makes to your sun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's that kind of thing. Like you've got as a Virgo, you've got fabulous Taurus friends.
Yeah.
I do not have Taurus friends.
Yeah.
Because they're squaring me and I will never have Taurus friends.
Yeah.
But I've got Aries and Sagittarius and it's just bam.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
So I think it depends who you are. And I think it's a bit of a fun question too.
It's a fun question.
But
if you're one of those signs and you feel vilified, find your people.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah, of course not.
Unless there is, I mean, I watch some true crime. There's something wrong.
You see, this is Scorpio speaking.
Some people.
I would never go to true crime. Or zombie movies. It's just so Scorpio.
I love a zombie movie. Yeah.
No.
I watched the entire Netflix series about Ed Gein. Oh, I don't recommend it to anyone who doesn't love horror because it's deep.
Yeah.
But wow. Yeah. That's Scorpio. So if you feel vilified, there are people out there who love you for who you are.
My Scorpio daughter, she was watching Saw and she was telling me how great it was. And I gave it a go and I thought 5 minutes in, I said, I'm not watching this.
I actually haven't watched that, but I've heard some podcasts about it.
Oh.
I'm like, I don't really know if that's my kind of horror. I'm really more of a fan of like science fiction horror or.
Well, it's non-horrors.
No, it's just really more slashery kind of horror. I'm not really.
Yeah, it kept me awake that first 5 minutes for months.
Oh God. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I do think it depends who you are, and clearly, if you're a fire sign, you get on better with the fire signs, and if you're an air sign, you get on better with the air signs, and you may find the other signs challenging. And
For sure.
really, it's a personal thing, I think.
Yeah.
So even though we're joking about it a bit, it's...
but it is funny how a few rise to the top.
They do.
when we think-
They do. And we could talk about Scorpio because Arwynne's solidly in the Scorpio camp.
Yeah, and my partner is a Scorpio, so
he is. Well,
I'm fully
absolutely.
on
And he
team
is.
Scorpio.
Every time I see him, I'm getting the interrogation.
Yeah.
It's 50 questions before I got the door
Yeah,
open.
but he's got Libra rising, so he's so charming.
Well, and I know the last time he spoke to me, I said, "Is this 20 questions?" Because enough, But
I do.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we have been celebrating our 200th episode, our bicentennial. Who knew we would get this far?
Yeah.
Arwynne and I, this is our 200th recording we're doing tonight here, and it's been a blast. We've been answering some of our listeners' questions, some of your questions that you've sent in. Some are very interesting about just general reading. Others are just more lighthearted, I would say. But they're all astrology related, and we love that you send the questions in.
Yeah.
The next time we'll be doing a Q&A will be at our 225th episode, which is in 25 episodes time, which is technically 25 weeks, so halfway through next year. And it's been great. So if you have found value in this episode, please do consider sharing it with anybody who'd be interested. Make sure you're getting our newsletter, and you can sign up at starzology.com/newsletter. Additionally, make sure you're getting Arwynne's newsletter, and you can find her at...
You can find me at mspink.net. That's MSPINK. And I send out my weekly newsletter every Saturday about goddesses and art and personal stories and books, etc.
Yeah, it's a good read. Yes. So I want to thank everybody who has listened to any of our podcasts, and some of you have listened to all of them. Several of you have listened to many of them, and a few of you are just finding us here for the first time. And we do appreciate you spending your time out of your day to listen to our podcast.
Yes, we love and appreciate you all.
We do. We absolutely do. We love our listeners.
Yeah.
So this is Alison. I just want to say thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the two main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer, or someone who's learning astrology, or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.